Okay, I'd like to introduce you to a special person. Her name is Wybeth Sutter, and she has a couple of things to say prior to our keynote.
Thank you so much for having me, Dad. Can you get your microphone? Hear me back here. We'd like to thank you so much for having our dad come and be a part of this. He's really been excited to be able to come and be with you all. And I'd like to introduce my family to you. This is my sister Karen, my husband Don, my son Jeremy, and his wife Donna, and our great son John. So thank you.
Well, the time has come to introduce our keynote speaker. We advertise in a lot of different formats and fashions to try to reach as many people as we can. And one of the things that happened is we reached even a little further than we could have possibly imagined. In November of last year, I got a call from this gentleman saying, "Hey, I was on Luce," but not the Luce we knew. This gentleman was on Luce DD-522. He's got an amazing story to tell, and he'll be here for as long as you want to talk about it. But if you would rise and greet him, this is Commissary Chief Jim Phillips. We're all Luce shipmates. We're all Luce shipmates. Please come to attention. Hand salute. 2. Thank you. Please be seated.
I'd like to thank you for having me. I'm highly honored and deeply humbled to come before you people. Such a distinguished group that served on a ship named the same as the one I served on. But we didn't last but 30 months. We was short-lived, but we made our mark. I want to tell you today, we'll just that'd be about a few minutes here on what I do. But when we lost the ship, there's about 200 men still there today, my age. And they were 17 to 21. I was 21 when we lost the ship. I hadn't even had an opportunity to buy a plane. But I got to survive. And the only reason I could come before you here today, I want you all to know that it's divine interference. Not just once, but many times. And if you don't believe in divine interference, you're having a hard time. I was after the ship was sunk, I was in the water, and they told us to stay in the debris. When the ship sinks, all the stuff on the ship, the float comes to the top. And that includes all of the oil. And we had just fueled up the day before, and we had about, after the ship sunk and there was a few hours went by, there's about 5 acres of the ocean that had about 3 inches of oil on it. And just outside of that oil was the sharks waiting. And if you swam out of that oil, they had lunch. But you had an option. The chap would always set the oil on fire after about a couple of hours. They sent a fire bomb over it, drop a bomb and set the oil on fire. to barbecue us guys that didn't want to swim out and have it out with the sharks. I stayed in Hilton. And all the rest of the 11 men that was in my group just disappeared one at a time. And finally, about 5 o'clock, it was just me. So I called God and I told him, of course I tried to keep his line busy all day. I told him, I said, if you can't do something to me for me before dark, I'm just going to turn loose these 5-inch 38 powder cases and go down there with my friends because their problem's over. They're at peace. All I had supporting me was 2 empty 5-inch 38 shell cases, powder cans. And if you're Navy man and know what a 5-inch 38 is, and how the powder comes, so well, you know what I'm talking about. And on May the 4th, we had been stationed at a picket line. I think it was number 12, a picket station, about halfway between Okinawa and Kyushu, Japan. And we'd been out there 34 days, off and on, just was missing long enough to go fuel and get new ammunition. And our job was to monitor the Japanese planes leaving Japan and coming down to harass our troops at Okinawa. We reported to all the carriers. They had several carriers out there, several hundred miles from us, but we had radio contact. We tell them where they're at, they go shoot them down. And most of them we never even saw. But on May the 4th, 1945, they lost a 400 plane raid and 50 planes to the flight. And of course we was the first ship to land. So they lined up their planes one behind the other, and they kept running into us until there was nothing left. And that took less than 5 minutes. And you can read all kinds of books. Some of them say we lost 120 men, some say 150, some say 2 planes hit us. I don't know who was keeping the record. But I do know that there was only 84 men survived that I know out of the 320. The rest of them were still young men, 17 to 21, still in the bottom of the sea. So I'd like to get a message off to them before I get started. I always do this because I'm in the teenage senior group, and I know it ain't going to be long before I'll be reporting to the main gate. Can't be too long. I've asked for an extension, but I don't know if I'm going to get it or not, you know. By the time you put your chit in and go through all the chain, prove to disprove, you might not get it. But this is what I send to them each time as a message, so that they don't forget it. It's a tribute to our departed shipmates. In case my words don't just come out like they're supposed to, just bear with me a second. But I'll get it out. But the poem reads this. You might have heard it before. We thought about you with love today, but that ain't nothing new. We thought about you yesterday and the day before that too. We think about you in silence. We often speak your name. Now we have our memories and your picture in a frame. Your memories are our keepsake, which we will never pull. God has you in His keepings. We have you in our hearts. So I want to make it, they sure, they all know I ain't forgot them. And you guys keep the barbecue hot and the beer cold. Wherever you're at, I know you got you. So I'm going to tell you a short story about my life and the way I saw things up to the end of the sinking of the Luce. I was born in a tent in a wagon behind a drugstore in Noma, Florida on February 9, 1924. And really, my mother had started my arrival, her and the committee, in the sharecropper shack just across the Alabama line, but I just got part of the way and I was on the ground. She didn't know she was delivering her sailor. And they got nervous, and the nearest doctor was in Noma, Florida, just 3 miles down the road. So they put Mother and I in the wagon, and Grandmother and the reception party got in. And we all went down to hunt the doctor. That's the court of immigration. And they all jumped out of the wagon and started looking for the doctor. And he was down the road about a half a mile having his liquid lunch. And it was homemade root stuff. Oh, Mother and I just got on with it, and when they got back, I had arrived. But in the process, somebody in the birthing committee had broke my right bottom jaw, compound fracture. So Roxy looked at me, according to my grandmother, and told my folks, "You ain't gonna raise that boy, he can't nurse. He's gonna starve to death." So Grandmother give the doctor her thoughts about it. And she triced up my jaw with an extra diaper and packed some quilted bunning around it to keep it lined up properly. And she fed me with an eyedropper until my jaw healed enough that I could nurse. Well, and then we went back to the sharecropper shack on the Alabama side of the line. And that's where I stayed for the next 16 years and 20 days. 20 days after I become 17, I joined the Navy. And that's when the party started. I went to Norfolk, Virginia. They had a Navy recruiting office in Norfolk. And I took my boot camp there, and I loved it. And they gave me 2 pair of shoes. And a whole sack full of brand new clothes. I mean, I was shocked. And I was so proud then. That's the first new shoes I ever had. And I was so proud of them shoes, and I wanted to walk backwards, and I was tempted to anyway. When I got in the sand, walk backwards just to see the tracks. But I didn't do that because my drill instructor didn't think very much of me because I only had a 9th grade. In 1939, I finished the 9th grade, and my dad took me out of the school and gave me a mule and a plow for graduation and said he was going to increase the production next year, and the war in Europe was coming and everything, all the eggs was going to get more expensive and we was going to get rich. So I plowed the mule in 1939, and when I turned 17, the chief up at the office, up at the recruiting office, gave me a piece of paper from the family to fill out and sign. I did all that, and I mailed it in to him. So 20 days after I become 17, he called me, and I went. A few times I wondered if I was doing the right thing. Because we had then, in 1941, that was early 41, what they call a neutrality patrol. That's what the government called it. It was really a war with the German submarine. Because they assigned us to patrol grouse and sent the patrol grouse out to keep the German submarines away from the shoreline, and especially away from Virginia Beach, because they would come up there on weekends and surface, and all their crew would get out on deck with binoculars and watch the beach. I think it was the girls on the beach. And then the proprietor would call the Navy, and they'd raise hell, and they'd send us out there. And so the chief that was in charge of the boat, the captain, I was a gunner on 20 millimeter. I had scored top man in the 20 millimeter school over in Virginia, over down in Virginia. I made the top one. So they assigned me to the 20. He went back. And we got out there to Virginia Beach, and the Germans ignored the chief's light and his horn and everything. So he told me, he said, Phillips, far across the bow, a couple of swordbursts to get their attention, said they ignored us. Said, about 2,000 yards ahead of me, he said. So I swung my 12 millimeter out and I gave 2 quick bursts. It fired 120 rounds a minute, so we just had to pull the trigger, turn it loose. And you know them Germans, they went to general quarters on that submarine, and they fired over the top of us one of them 88 shells. You know what they sound like when they're coming over the top of you? 2, 3 freight trains coming at you. And that scared my mule. I mean, that frightened me terribly. I began to wonder if I had made a mistake. And I did. West Florida boy had got himself in a whole bunch of stuff he shouldn't be in. Well, when we got back into port, the dock, Pier 5 in Norfolk was full of brass. I mean, admirals and commanders, and they had some civilian guys that looked really distinguished and had ties on and everything, you know, real high politicians. And they lined us, all of us kids, up on the dock, and one of the admirals says, or the commander says, you guys haven't been anything. I want you to scrub your mind. Scrub my mind. I'm thinking about, they've been teaching me how to scrub the deck with rust. I'm thinking about how the hell am I going to get my mind down there to scrub that? So it doesn't happen. You haven't been anywhere, and the boat didn't get underway, and you haven't done nothing. And young man, you didn't fire that gun today. And we don't want to hear no more about it. As long as you live. Tell them. This was before World War II started. About 4 months before the Japanese jumped over. So anyway, I had that to do with that. Anyway, it wasn't long, and the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. I had 2 or 3 of those instances. And I began to wonder, and the drill instructor and the other chiefs said I was the dumbest little shit they had. But I had a 9th grade education, he said, and one of them said, you know, some of these guys have got 2 years college, and all of them finished high school, and you ain't even finished high school. You were the dumbest little shit we got. The only place I want to see you face is in a book. That's what he told me. And when all these other guys are doing something else, get to play a little bit, you're going to go to the education building and get your diploma. So that's what it is. Every time in the afternoons when we finish up all the military drills, I had to go to the education building. They got to shoot a few goals and play horseshoes. Just grab, you know what, horse around. So I went to school. It took me about a year, but I got one. And then they assigned me to the USS Luce, brand new destroyer. Said it was the best they ever had. The best weapon they ever had, and it will teach us how to use it. So they did. And our assignment was that we escorted some of the troops to, I think, Iran or somewhere, the first offensive they had over there. And we took them part of the way and turned them over to the Canadians, and we come back. And then we picked up the Intrepid, the USS Intrepid, and she's in New York today. And she was brand new, and we were supposed to take her to the Pacific, kill Japs. So we got through the canal and went up to San Diego, and the admiral up there told us, you guys have got a nice looking ship, and you're all sharp looking, but you don't, the war ain't nothing. That you're up against a suicidal enemy out here, and you fight the war differently. And the different way you fight it is simple. If you run across a Jap, and you want to get back home to your sweet thing, kill him first. If you don't, you probably be it. So that's the way I went out in the Pacific. And then we got to Honolulu. Admiral Nimitz had another program we had to go for 3 weeks. But we finally got assignment. Our first assignment was getting the Japs off of Bath 2. And we did that in about 9 months. And we got involved in the Battle of the Commodorskis and the North Pacific Island, Pemberton, Shiro, Shimmerman, Shiro, Japanese held islands. We bombarded them and all that sort of stuff. Then they sent us back to New Guinea. And we did the New Guinea campaign and then the Philippine campaign. And all this time, we thought we was just good. We hadn't had many casualties, and we done the Japs pretty good, taught them a pretty good lesson, we thought, because we beat them every time we met them. But when we got to the Philippines and saw how they started that coordinated suicidal attack on the ship, I told my loader, Virgil Decker, and he was working, that, you know, we're going to have a hard time here. I don't think we're going to get home. I thought we'd never make it. But my USS Luce DD-522 was involved in it. After we left the Aleutians, that was our first combat mission. We come down to New Guinea or Bay and hopped up New Guinea all the way up to the Philippines. We had made it to the Philippines on October the 20th. That was the big fight there they had. And they had 3 or 4 big fights. And on my 21st birthday, we was assigned to support the army that was retaking Manila, and we was sent into Manila Bay to shoot wherever the army asked us to shoot. We did that. Got out of that without a big tight squeezing here and there, but we didn't lose many people. Then we stayed there. Let's see there. April the 1st, we made it down. And we was there first. We was there a day ahead of time, because wherever the Army or the Marines went, you can rest assured there was a couple of Navy destroyers, or at least the men, sometime a cruiser, probably maybe a battleship, was there the day before. We was there covering the frogmen that was clearing the mines out and shooting out anybody that wanted to shoot us. So that's about the way, and we got these young men I knew, I look back over the 95 plus years more, and I wonder why me. And I know it's got to be divine intervention, not only during the war, but during other times. There's got to be. These men I was with in my young days on the Luce, they put their life on hold. Their education, their love life, their family life, and all the other things that make life and freedom as we know it. They fought and won the greatest air and sea battle in the history against the suicidal enemy. If you look these in the faces, in the eyes of these young Americans, you would see a person who had aged far beyond his years. His eyes suspended somewhere between boyhood, manhood, and death. A stare as vacant as it was me. As he searched the surrounding seas and skies day and night for weeks. Blood and gasoline mixed freely on the decks of our ships. And death, whatever suppressed. The smell of burning flesh and gunpowder filled the air. The cries for the wounded could be heard between salvos and explosions. And when the fight ended, there was no enemy at hand. And if your ship had survived, your duty was to prepare for the next fight because it was just over the horizon. Extinguish the fires, repair the damage, treat the wounded, and bury the dead. And if you have to abandon ship, the call from those who could no longer help themselves was urgent. And time had run out. So you must leave someone behind in order to save yourself. In the sea, there were many cries for help. And when the sharks come to feast, there would be a loud cry, a thrashing in the water, and a bright red stain in the sea. And another shipmate was gone. We lost over 5,000 men to the suicide aircraft. I was wounded and I went. The ship that picked me up was the USS Wiley. With God's help, it showed Lieutenant Luce, the Marine pilot that found me in the sea. I'd been in there all day, and all the other planes flying over me, and nobody. They was reporting me as debris. And God is the only one that knew that was me. That was James Phillips there in that situation. He's the only one that knew where I was. So somebody had to tell Lieutenant Luce, hey, old Phillips is down there, and he's in deep, deep, man. get down there and see what you can do for me. So that's when after I had sent that last message off to God, about 30 minutes, here come Lieutenant Luce, DFM 323, flying out Corsair. And we all know, all of you that's here at the Corsair aircraft, know that the F-6 had a whistling sound that no other plane had. Well, I heard that, and that was a welcome for me. The biggest blessing of my life. So he come low down my left side, about 100 feet above the water. I waved at him. He circled me, fired a couple of bursts of his machine gun, dropped a smoke bomb, and then come right down over the top of him about 100 feet over me, and got out where he knew I could see him, and he rocked his aircraft, like just enough to say, hang in there, boy. We know you're here, and we're going to get you. So, the Wiley come up just before sundown to pick me up, and they was under attack. And the doctor on the Wiley was a young doctor, and he was nervous too and scared. And they was under attack. So he said, I got to give you a shot. If I don't give you a shot, you're going to die. He called the name of the wrong medical word. And I said, what's that going to do? He said, that's going to make you where you ain't going to know nothing. I said, hell, don't give me that. Because they're going to sink your ship too. He said, oh, no, she ain't going to sink my ship. I said, Doc, I just got off of one just like it. Then they sunk in 5 minutes. Blew it all to pieces. Don't tell me. Just don't give me that shot till we find out where we're going to get out of this pickle. He said, well, I got to give it to you then. So he did. And that blanked me out, and they moved me from their decks to the USS Mercy, the hospital ship, and the Mercy got underway, and it was 4 days before we got to Guam. And when they took me off of the Mercy, the guy that was, the medical man that was taking the readings on who was alive and who was dead, put me on the dead truck. They had a big semi there, and all of those guys in stretchers that was dead, they put him in that semi. And then when he got to the pool, they take him up to the barrel grounds on the side of the hill and walk, and put him in the barrel bags and bury him. So he put me on that truck. And some second-class pharmacists made in the Navy. When they got me up there, he told them, no, this guy ain't ready for the bag. Send him back to the hospital. Sent me back, and it was 11, the evening of 11th, I regained my ability to recognize and tell who it was. So they kept me in. Of course, all my skin come off because the flash burns, and I didn't get. They had me all wrapped up and put that bear grease on me and had me looking like a mummy when I woke up. And after that, a whole lot of other stuff happened. And then after a while, they peeled that duct tape and stuff off of it. And it started picking off the dead skin. All over, my whole body. The skin was peeling off, died. He said, we got to get that dead skin off. If you don't, you get it infected. So when he got down to first base with his tweezers, I said, how about just let me, give me them tweezers and I'll pick all of first base. He He said, hell no, I've got so many to pick today, and you just hold on and shut up. And I was uncomfortable for a while. But anyway, I survived all of that. And after that, they sent me to the Philippines for reassignment. And I had just turned 21. I hadn't even had a chance to buy a drink yet. And I didn't have no pay record, but I had a card there that said I was a survivor. And back then, Admiral Nimitz had an order out. If you was a survivor of a ship that was lost in battle, you didn't have to do nothing. No duties, nothing until your pay record caught up. Well, mine hadn't caught up to me. I just showed that card. It didn't make those people I showed it to, it didn't make them very happy. Because it couldn't make people work. And when we got to the Philippines, I showed it to the chief, and I thought he was going to kill me. But anyway, when we did get there, I had been promoted from first class to chief, and I was only 21. And the commanding officer was a little guy, not much shorter than that, and he's a World War I veteran. And he's the one that looked at me, and he looked at the chief that brought me in there, and he asked the chief, "You sure you got the right man?" Yes, chief. And he looked